Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Day or Night in the Desert podcast. I am James Knight here with my co host Zach Morris. Got a lot of great stuff to get into today, but we do want to touch on a few housekeeping items before we get into more of our content for the day. I have had a few people reach out to me about being guests on our show. I've also reached out to a few people about being guests on our show. We're trying to work through the logistics of that as we speak. But I just want to kind of touch on a little bit about what we want to do with guests. We're certainly happy to have guests on. If you or a friend wants to come on, please let us know. You can reach out to us on Instagram, on the Day or Night podcast Instagram page, as well as reach out to either one of us in our direct messages or on Instagram or over text. Feel free to bring up you or your friend if they want to come on, or if you just know anyone who wants to come on, feel free to do that. We also encourage people to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. As always, be sure to turn on post notifications so you never miss any of our content. And that will pretty much cover that. The first thing we're going to talk about is the first 4 games. 16 seeds Howard and UMBC met in the first 4. Howard won 86-83 in an absolutely thrilling game, holding off a UMBC rally in the final minutes to hold on and get the victory. Osei Okojo led all scorers with 23 points in the win for Howard. Howard will advance to play Michigan in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Your reaction to that, Zach?
I think that is going to be a really great matchup between both those two teams. UMBC played a great game against Howard, but it just wasn't enough. But Howard, being a Division I school, I think, or I think they're below Division I, I'm not sure. This is like their first tournament appearance in decades. And I saw from the stats of how great they played on both offense and defense. And I can't wait to see this matchup with Michigan, but I think Michigan is going to run away with this easily.
I agree, Zach. I mean, obviously, congratulations to Howard. That's their first ever NCAA tournament win. Big congratulations to them, but Michigan is going to be a tough out for them. And I think that I agree with you, Zach. I think Michigan's going to take that one. Obviously, have a lot of star players and a lot of talent there. They're a 1 seed. I predicted them to win the national championship. I think Zach had them in his final 4. So Michigan, a very deep team, a very good team. We look forward to seeing how that plays out. There was a second first 4 matchup yesterday between Texas and NC State. Texas held off NC State on a Tremont Mark 2-pointer with 1 second left to win 68-66. An absolutely thrilling game to begin March Madness. And we talked about it's March. I mean, anything can happen. I predicted NC State to win that game. The Texas held it tight the entire game. Obviously had to rally a little teeny bit, but great game played by both teams and an absolute thrilling start to March Madness. Zach, your just overall reaction to the start of March Madness and just the amount of thrilling games we've seen so far.
It's starting to be a wild ride, and all these teams are having one goal in mind, is winning that national championship. But it's only the start. It's not the end yet. We're just getting things going. So I can't wait to follow the rest of these games. And I know as far as everyone else, you will all follow along as well. And I hope each and every one of your brackets does well. I know there will be a lot of busters with their brackets, but I hope most of them go as planned as you think they will.
Yeah, I hope so too. Certainly wishing everyone well with their brackets this year. Obviously, it's one of the funnest times of year for the whole country to come together and do something big like March Madness. I think that being able to predict these games is super fun, and the competition, whether you win or lose, it's always a great time. I've had a lot of brackets bust myself, but I think it's just so fun for friends to get together, families to get together, coworkers to get together, and just enjoy the spirit of March Madness. And that's really been one of the joys of my life, to be able to experience that over the course of my life. I've done it many, many times for many, many years, and it's just been a super fun thing for me to do with my family, my coworkers, my friends, everybody. So
one team will have a shining moment, and they will figure that out as the tournament goes on. But as I said, one shining moment for each team that keeps going throughout this tournament will have one goal in mind, and that is a national championship at the very end.
Well, we certainly look forward to that. By the way, Texas had 4 players in double figures. They will now play the 6th-seeded BYU in the round of 64, with BYU being slightly favored, with most odds makers giving them around a 55 to 60% chance to win. And this will be our first opportunity to see National Player of the Year and likely top 3 NBA draft pick AJ DeBonsa in action in the NCAA tournament. We've obviously seen his level of production all season long. What are your thoughts on seeing AJ play in the NCAA tournament for the first time?
I think it's going to be an exciting time for him and his family, but I'm really excited to see the superstar evolve into this tournament to see what he can do on both sides of the ball. But it'll be exciting to watch for sure. Even though I'm a Utah fan, I hope BYU wins in the first round because I had them losing in the second round.
Yeah, and obviously it'll be exciting to see AJ DeBonsa lace up his sneakers for the first time in the NCAA tournament. We're going to get on to a few more subjects today. The Utah Mammoth finally ended their skid against the Dallas Stars with a 6-3 road victory. 6 different players for the Mammoth scored, including McBain, Yamamoto, Krause, Carconi, Schmidt, and Keller. They all scored. A very versatile win for our team. 6 players scoring 6 different goals. That rarely happens with the Mammoth, considering the number of players they have that are capable of scoring multiple goals. And it's nice to see guys like Krause and Carcone get a goal every once in a while. We don't often see that with Keller, Gunther, and Schmaltz getting the majority of our goals. And obviously with Logan Cooley coming back, he is a big contributor on the goal and didn't have a goal in this game, but we did see a lot of scoring from the supporting cast with Krause and Carcone getting a goal. Zach, your reaction to that?
I really liked how all of those guys that were scoring goals, having fun out there, cheering on their teammates, and supporting one another, got the job done for the W. And it's been a tough road for this team this year, but I can finally say that this time of the year, when the playoffs are on the line and things are happening for these NHL teams that are going to make it into the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's a fun and exciting time of the year. And I really do like Keller. He's really evolved into the biggest superstar on the Mammoth.
Yeah, I totally agree. And obviously it is really exciting that, Keller comes back from the Olympics, Cooley comes back from his injuries, and the Mammoth, they're starting to find their footing going into the playoffs. It'll be very, very interesting to see how they look heading into the wild card spot. I do believe they will get it. They're obviously 5 points ahead of the Kraken and the Kings for the top wild card spot. It will be super exciting to watch that, and wishing our guys the best. A very team victory today. 6 players scoring goals. I think that's just even more reason for optimism. Even if Cooley and Schmaltz didn't get a goal and Gunther didn't get a goal, it's great to see the team come together and win a game and know that more than just our superstar players on offense can get us goals, can produce when needed, and produce against a very good Dallas Stars team that I think is going to be a force going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Great overall team win. Super excited about that. We're going to move on to the Jazz, who aren't looking as good. The Jazz lost to the Kings 116-111 on Sunday. The Jazz dropped to 20-48 on the season, so not a lot of great things happening for them. However, they did have 4 players in double figures, including a career high from second-year player Cody Williams. He had 34 points on 12 of 20 shooting, 3 of 7 from 3, and 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Sensabaugh and Collier also added 22 and 21 points in a close loss. The Jazz, however, remain at 14th place in the Western Conference with just a record of 20-48, as I said. Not great news for the Jazz, but it was nice to see Cody Williams, who, has not had the career that maybe some were expecting so far, but he was able to have 34 points, really efficient shooting night. I find that as a reason for optimism. Zach, do you have anything to add to that?
I do, but if I did, it probably would be a real heartbreaker for a lot of these Jazz fans that I'm kind of on the fence with this team for a while now. I haven't watched really hardly any games this year. I've watched, 2 or 3 games, and it's just been a disappointing season. I just don't know about this front office. I think it's time that we need to really look at ourselves in the mirror in the offseason and figure out what went wrong, where we can improve. But we do have the talent to make a deep playoff run, either next season or the season after. But it starts in the front office. And I'm not too fond of Danny Ainge. I haven't been fond on him since he's gotten to Utah and taken over this team. He's traded away a lot of great players, and he's made this team a laughing stock, and I'm just starting to get really sick of it. So hopefully we can finish the season strong and go into the off season. We can get some players healthy and get them back ready to roll for next season. But all in all, I'm a Jazz fan until I die, no matter what.
Yeah, and I think that's a super important point. Obviously, I'm a Jazz fan till the day I die too, despite the level of disappointment that I think many of us have been accustomed to seeing over the last couple of years. But I do think it is optimistic to see players developing. We've seen a lot of great performances from Collier and Sensabaugh, and now Cody Williams is really starting to develop. We've seen him have a lot more solid games this season than he had last year. So it is a sign of optimism going forward to see some of our young guys improving, even if it's not maybe how much we want or if it's not helping us get the wins that we need. It is nice to see that we have guys who are playing well, who are getting better, and that our overall team as a whole is looking upward. And I think when we get Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen back next year, and maybe we get some draft picks, I think it will certainly help our team with our chemistry and with the optimism of Jazz fans and Jazz players everywhere, that I think we could make a run next year and in the coming years. So certainly optimistic about the long-term future. Obviously the short term, it's a little bit disappointing, but I am certainly excited to see what the Jazz do in the coming seasons.
I need to ask you one quick thing. Do you think we would ever see LeBron James in a Jazz uniform? I know a couple of people have told me not to talk about this, but I really think it's time to maybe possibly trade for him next year or the year after. I don't know when he's planning to retire, but I think he would really, really help this team get into a playoff position and into the NBA Finals talk.
Well, the short answer to that is no. I don't think we're going to see LeBron James in a Jazz uniform. He was my favorite player growing up, still is one of my favorite players of all time. And obviously, Zach, you've been touching a lot on potentially trying to get LeBron into Utah, and people are telling you never to say that again. I'm certainly not one of those people who's telling you to never say that again, because I've been a LeBron fan. But realistically, I mean, the guy's 41 years old. He wants to go back home and play for the Cavaliers. I just don't see it happening. I am hopeful, though, that we can get a star, maybe somebody like a Giannis or a Ja Morant. I know some people would be skeptical of that too, but I do think we kind of need a name in Utah that gets us back into relevant conversations in the NBA. I don't think it's just our lack of talent, and the reason why I think LeBron could be a good thing here is because, not that he would ever come here, but I think he could bring a lot of buzz to the state of Utah. And buzz that we've been lacking ever since we've lost Donovan Mitchell. I think that's another point that we have to bring up with regards to the Jazz. It's not just about the lack of talent, but it's about the lack of buzz around this city. And the lack of, obviously, people don't talk about us. Don't talk about the Jazz. And so...
And we all know who to thank for that. We can thank Danny Ainge for all of these issues. Because I'm really starting to get irritated with this ownership. And I think it's time to really take a closer look to see where Danny Ainge can improve and how he can improve. Because I don't think we can keep going on like this. I think the Jazz need to get back to where they know how to play playoff basketball. Started that thing going. Get some good draft picks. Get some good players. Trade talks, free agents. But I think it's just time to figure out where we went wrong with Danny Ainge.
I agree. And obviously Austin has now taken over the GM position, Danny Ainge's son. And hopefully he does a good job kind of bringing relevancy back to our team. And I think, ultimately, the first thing we need to focus on is talent. We can't just get caught up in, we don't have LeBron or Giannis. We need to get fundamental pieces first, and we need to get our team functioning as a team. But I do think it's an interesting concept to bring up that superstars like LeBron or Kevin Durant or somebody like that could bring buzz to our city. I don't know how we'd realistically pull it off. I don't think we will. But I do think it is an interesting thought experiment to go on there. But we're going to get into some NFL stuff first and foremost. Jalen Waddle was traded to the Broncos for a first, third, and fourth round pick in this upcoming draft. Denver also received a third round pick as part of the deal. And this deal gives quarterback Bo Nix a dynamic playmaker at receiver, a guy who last year as a Miami Dolphin recorded 64 catches for 910 yards and 6 touchdowns in a down year for Miami, who is obviously rebuilding. They traded Tua Tagovailoa earlier in the offseason, so Miami clearly in rebuild mode. Tyreek Hill's also gone from that team. A lot of their good offensive pieces are gone. And so we're seeing Miami at a complete rebuild, and it gives an AFC playoff contender in Denver a great receiver in Jalen Waddle, a guy who's consistently produced over the course of his career. I personally love this trade. I don't know about you, Z, but tell me your thoughts.
I really do like this trade. I think Denver is really getting geared up for a deep playoff run, getting a lot of good players in the draft, hopefully, in the next. I think they're going to get geared up, get all these good players that they want, and they're going to make a deep playoff run. And I would like to see them in the Super Bowl next year. I'm hoping that Bo Nix comes back, gets ready to roll, gets on the same page with Jalen Waddle, and does their thing on the offensive side of the ball.
Zach, do you think, because we saw them make the AFC Championship game this year. Obviously, they lost to New England, but it was without Bo Nix. They had to play Jarrett Stidham that game. It was in the snow. It was a very close loss. Does Jalen Waddle put the Broncos over the top, in your opinion, and make them a real AFC Super Bowl threat?
They make him a deep contender into the AFC Championship talk. So we'll see what happens, but I really do like that move. And I know Miami is in a rebuild mode of themselves. They lost Tua, they lost Jalen, they lost Tyreek. So who knows what will happen to that team, but Denver is gearing up for a deep playoff run next season, and I can't wait to see what happens.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think it'll be exciting to watch the Broncos next year. I think they'll be big-time Super Bowl contenders. They were obviously very, very close this year, just losing out to the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game. So with a guy like Jalen Waddle, if Bo Nix comes back healthy, I'm definitely picking them to win the AFC West. I do think we'll see a better outlook from the Chiefs this year, but I ultimately do not think with Denver's defense, it's going to be enough to beat them. I think Bo Nix just needed a star receiver. He's obviously produced at a high level last year. I think he'll just continue to get better in this upcoming season. And I'm going off on a limb here, and I'm predicting the Broncos as my AFC West champions next year. And I think they'll at least get into the AFC Championship game, and we'll see who else is in contention. But I do like them as a real, legitimate Super Bowl threat, and I'm excited to see what they're able to do in the upcoming season.
How would you say about the Buffalo Bills now that Sean McDermott has been relieved of his duties? Do you think Josh Allen will get them back up to the top?
I think you can't count it out. I mean, they haven't produced at the level that a lot of fans would have hoped. But Josh Allen's still a top 2 to 3 quarterback in the National Football League. I mean, he's right up there with Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, guys like that. And so you can't really count a team like that out. And he does have the weapons. He has Dalton Kincaid. He has Dustin Knox, Keon Coleman, a lot of guys coming back. So I do like the outlook for the Buffalo Bills. I think they could use a little help at receiver and maybe a little help on defense. But when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, even if you fail to reach the Super Bowl so far, you never know. I think they could make a run. We'll see what happens. I'm obviously excited to see them. And another team that I'm kind of excited to see how they bounce back next year is the New England Patriots. We saw them make the Super Bowl with Drake May. A lot of people are saying it's a total fluke. They're not going to get back to what they were. But I do like the addition of Mike Vrabel there last year, leading them to a Super Bowl. He was a great coach in Tennessee, led them to an AFC Championship game as well, ultimately losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. But Vrabel's a great hire. I think he's building a great culture in New England. And I think the Patriots are another team to talk about next year, despite all the talk around, oh, this was their one and only chance to make it to the Super Bowl. I really don't think it is. I think Drake May's got game. I think he's got talent. He's young. He's struggled a little bit in the playoffs, as a lot of young quarterbacks do. They obviously are losing Stephon Diggs, which doesn't help, but they have a lot going for them, and I think that they'll continue to build and be a great team. You have a great coach like Vrabel and a great quarterback like Drake May. I think anything's possible there. What are your thoughts on that?
I am a big Drake May fan because he was a UNC Tar Heel, and I went to see him play in one game a couple years ago against Pitt, and he was unbelievable. I've never seen a talent like him before, and I think if he can keep rising and doing what he does, I think he can surpass Mahomes or even Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Bo Nix, and hopefully one day he can be as good or even as better as Tom Brady.
I don't think he'll be better than Tom Brady, but I do like the optimism. And I think that the Patriots, they're building something big again. And I'm really excited to see what they're able to do. Obviously, Tom Brady's a pretty high bar there, but I know the comparisons are frequent. Everyone kind of expects the Patriots to be the same old Patriots. I don't think they'll get to that level again. But do I realistically think they could make a deep playoff run? Absolutely. And I'm really excited to see what they're able to do in the upcoming season and seasons to come. Before we wrap up here, I just wanted to get into another big story radiating out of the University of Utah, and that is Utah Athletic Director Mark Harlan was nominated for Athletic Director of the Year, in large part due to him securing the Utes with a $500 million private equity deal with Otro Capital. Harlan, who's been the athletic director since 2018, is a finalist for the award alongside Indiana's Scott Dolson, Texas Tech's Kirby Hocutt, Vanderbilt's Candace Story-Lee, and Western Michigan's Dan Bartholomew. I think, obviously, a lot of people around the University of Utah are going to have many opinions on this, considering especially what's transpired in our basketball program and in our coaching staffs over the last few years. There's been some questionable firings with Coach K on the basketball team. I do think Morgan Scalley's going to be a great coach for the U. Obviously, I loved Coach Whittingham. He's the best coach in program history, a 13-0 season in 2008, a Sugar Bowl win, not to mention 2 Pac-12 championships, 2 Rose Bowl appearances in 21 and 22. So, big-time things there. He did a lot of great things for our program. And so, I was sad to see him go. I wish him well at Michigan. I know a lot of Utah fans are like, we don't want Whittingham to do well, but everything he's done for our program over the course of 20 years speaks to the man and the coach that he is, and I certainly wish him well. And I have questioned Mark Harlan on that front as far as forcing him out of town. I do think Scalley will do a great job, but you get rid of the greatest coach in school history, I'm going to have a few things to say about it. And I love our new coaching staff, but at what cost?
You know my stance with Mark Harlan. We've discussed this off podcast, and you know where I stand with Mark Harlan. I can't go there. He's just not as good as I thought he was going to be as an athletic director. He has really torn down the basketball program over the last how many ever years he's been there. He's brought in a lot of good coaches on the football team, but I just really think it was his fault and his doing for letting Coach Witt slip in to the coaching position up in Michigan.
And it'll be interesting to see how this private equity deal goes with Otro Capital. I obviously think in today's era of NIL, you need money. Private equity is a big risk, but it'll be certainly interesting to see what he does. I still am very optimistic about our football team next year. It's going to take some time to get our basketball team on the right track, but our football team has great potential. We have Dampier and Ficklin coming back. And so a lot of our players are rallying around Morgan Scalley and this program. So clearly there's a lot of belief in that locker room about what Morgan Scalley can bring to the table. He obviously has very high goals. He's talked about potential national championships, Big 12 championships, things like that. So I don't think the standard in Utah has changed. I think we're going to come out next year and have a great season. I do think where I'm more critical of Harlan is with the basketball team. I didn't want to get rid of Witt. I can see why maybe Witt needed to go or needed a breath of fresh air at Michigan. It was really sad to see him go because I love Kyle Whittingham and I love what he's done for our team. And I will stand by that no matter how much Utah fans bug me about it. I am optimistic that Scalley can do a great job. Obviously, he's a program guy. He played at the University of Utah as a safety, has been on our coaching staff since 2005. I'm very, very excited for the future with Morgan Scally and our football team. And so I'm going to give Mark Harlan the benefit of the doubt, see what he does with our basketball team. Hopefully that will change soon. I'm not too keen on him being nominated for Athletic Director of the Year, but I do think he does have a chance to redeem himself if he can build our basketball program back up and get that to where it needs to be. And I think Scally will be a great move for the football team, and it'll be great for them going forward.
If Sharon Moore didn't get fired, we wouldn't be in this position. Coach Witt would still be here. He would still be running the team. And I just really feel like Mark Harlan let him slip away. And James, I told you this before. You know my stance on Mark Harlan and how critical I am of him. Mm-hmm. But hopefully Coach Witt will go out to Michigan, do some great things, and run that program the way he's run the Utah football program over the last 20 plus years here at the University of Utah. And I just have one other quick thing. This is to the NFL. What do you think about the Chiefs bringing in Justin Fields?
I don't think it's going to matter too much, because if Mahomes is healthy at the beginning of the season, Fields will be a backup. I do think he's a good backup. I think Fields would be good as a backup. It could take the pressure off of him as a starter. We've seen him kind of underperform as a starter, but a lot of those guys, they can underperform as a starter, they go someplace and be a backup, and then they come back and rejuvenate their career elsewhere. I think this is kind of that phase in his career for Justin Fields. We saw the same thing with Sam Darnold, who won the Super Bowl this year, struggled on the New York Jets, which Justin Fields ironically played for. And so he struggled with certain teams, but then Sam Darnold comes back with the Minnesota Vikings, has a great year last year. Then this year with the Seattle Seahawks, wins a Super Bowl. So Justin Fields, certainly wishing him well. I do not think it'll matter too much as far as the Chiefs' hopes, because I just don't think he'll play. But it'll be interesting to see where his career goes. I certainly think that this might help him rejuvenate his career. He'll have great coaching like Andy Reid. He'll be able to sit behind a Patrick Mahomes, be able to learn from Patrick Mahomes, who's one of the greatest quarterbacks, I think, in NFL history, a 3-time Super Bowl champion and a 3-time league MVP. So certainly, I think it's great for him. Despite the fact he won't be playing, he'll be learning behind one of the best coaching staffs ever and behind one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. So happy for him. Hopefully he gets another chance somewhere else to be a starting quarterback and he rejuvenates his career elsewhere. But
I think they brought him in to see if he can actually be the starter week 1, just in case Patrick Mahomes isn't ready to go from his off-season surgery. But hopefully the Chiefs will be relevant again. Hopefully Patrick Mahomes can be healthy and ready to go. But I think that's another reason why they brought Justin Fields in, just to be quarterback 1 until Pat can get back to being quarterback 1 after he's healthy.
Well, that'll about wrap things up, guys. We really appreciate your time and you tuning into our episodes. Remember to subscribe and turn on post notifications on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate all the support. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys on episode 7.